Let's Get To presents
Go, go, Astros!
Go Go Astros, a focus on H-Town hardball.
And this is Go Go Astros. I'm your host, James Christopher. And yes, I am dressed as a Ghostbuster. Hopefully we can exorcise the demons of the 2019 World Series and the Astros can go on to a win. But I do want to wish everybody a very happy Halloween. If you've been paying attention to our Twitter, you know that I am a big fan of this holiday. I have many more outfits planned between now and Sunday, but this is what I chose for my go to work day. But now we got to talk a little World Series. Astros knotted with the Braves at 1-1, and Brian Arbor is about to jump on. And now one of the smartest guys on Astros Twitter, the guy who researches everything, and the guy still waiting for Terry Poole to keep coming through, Brian Arbor. And poof, he will appear. Brian Arbor's with us. Andy Tom Cheston is actually coming back from the MLB store in New York. That's not why he went, but he got me something. So I can't wait to see what he brought home.
I actually walked past the MLB store myself last night, and there were 3 Astros mannequins up, which I have to assure you is 3 more than there were back in August last time I walked past it.
Okay, so they did make a change. They were like, oh, crap, they're in the playoffs and people like them again. So we had to make some change. Because we were both, he sent me photos. We were shocked at how much Astro stuff was there and available to buy. And some of it pretty cool that you can't necessarily get online, which is, of course, dumb. But all right, let's talk about this thing. So we are knotted at 1. I did just post on our guy, Apollo Dez's tweet about if this game gets rained out, and I post the famous scene when Martin Sheen yells at God from the West Wing, because I think the rain out obviously helps the Braves. I don't think it's getting rained out. What are you looking for in these 3 games in Atlanta?
Truist Park is a hitter's park. So I expect to see runs scored. Obviously, the Astros, both teams are better offenses than there are defenses. So, I expect both teams to score. And we're starting to get to the, particularly when we get to game 4 and game 5 on the Braves side, the underbelly of each team's pitching staff. They'll have to use the Braves would feel a lot more comfortable. They had Charlie Morton go in game 5. Instead, they're going to have to go with some type of bullpen game.
That really does change everything, doesn't it? Like the missing of Charlie Morton. I have a friend who says he has sources in the Astros, and I believe him, but you just, you never know. But, what he had given to us given to me was that even the guys felt like those were games started by Morton were toss-ups at best. So it does kind of change the complexion of the whole series, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the strength of the Braves pitching staff are their top 3 starters, Morton, Fried, who we saw in game 2, and Ian Anderson, who will pitch tonight. They've really struggled at a 4th and 5th starter in the playoffs, and now they're going to have to go to some combination of opener, bulk guy, bullpen game in most likely game 4 and game 5.
Or Fried on extreme short rest.
Either way would be, not the ideal for the Braves.
If it gets rained out, which I don't think it's going to get rained out. I think that it's a very high bar to rain out a World Series game unless MLB really hates the Astros. But if it gets rained out, how much does that change the complexion of things?
It'll make it easier for them to bring back Fried in game 5. Because he'd be on regular rest with everything delayed, but then they'd still have to pitch game 6 and game 6 with a bullpen game, an opener and a bulk guy, some sort of less ideal strategy. So I don't think the effect of that is not so big. It would, I believe the schedule would therefore be 5 games in 5 days, and that would stress both teams' bullpen and require more creative managing by both Dusty Baker and Brian Snitker.
But I think that at least the way I feel about, and this is what I think is interesting about baseball, right? So for 162 games, we are the boys of summer. We play in the most ideal, and then we get to the playoffs where now we're going to play in 45-degree weather and it's wet. And we're taking 162 season and contracting it to 7 games. It does seem like if it becomes a 5-game straight deal, then it will expose depth. And I do think the Astros have the advantage when it comes to overall depth.
Yeah, I mean, I think you trust the end of the Astros bullpen better. In part, Brian Presley is the best reliever in this series.
Brian, let's be honest though. What part of the Astros bullpen do you actually not trust right now? Because
Yeah, well, Christian Javier and Phil Maton, who were, average and shaky at times during the regular season, the bullpen have performed excellent in the postseason and have been a big asset to the Astros. I think combined, the two of them have given up one run over, I think it's 17 and 2/3 innings between the two of them. So they've done a really excellent job, and that has been an asset. Will that continue? Is that sustainable? And that's a big question. But right now, both of them are throwing well, and that's been big help to the Astros. Of course, turned over the Braves side, and you had questions in their bullpen, but they've gotten the best version of the top three arms in their bullpen. Will Smith, who is not someone who has endeared a lot of trust through the years to Braves fans, has pitched really well as their closer, and Tyler Matzik has been excellent this postseason. So again, will that continue? It's the same question on both sides.
yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned like Phil. I mean, both those guys. I guess Will Smith didn't give up runs, but he walked a couple guys, and then Phil Matzik gave up a run in an inning and 2/3 to the Astros. I feel like Astros hitting bullpens is usually a pretty good combination. What do you see tonight? I mean, looking at just Anderson versus Garcia, the weather game. I'm sure every Astros fan flashes back to his start in Colorado. It won't be that cold. It won't be that wet, I'm sure. But just overall, what are you seeing? What are you looking for tonight?
Yeah, I mean, so one is the Astros have an excellent offense, and they tend to score 5 runs or more each game. So I look for them to score runs. Ian Anderson is a pitcher whose his StatCast metrics aren't as good as his numbers that he's produced. So, one thing to think of is this someone who is pitched above his head possibly and will get exposed against the best offense in baseball, and that's a possibility. The other thought is whatever StatCast is measuring isn't quite the right thing, and he's the 3.5 ERA guy we've seen throughout the year. So that'll be the tension on the Astros side, on the Braves pitching, Astros hitting side. With Garcia, it's a question of which guy will show up. If we get the guy from Game 6 of the American League Championship Series, if we get the guy we saw most games this season, that'll be the case. Garcia is fit to both Prone's bouts of inconsistency. Isn't everybody? That particularly showed up in his first 2
Not you on this show. You're Lou Gehrig, man. You're just out there every day and you're killing it.
I am the iron horse of podcasting. Absolutely.
Yes. I do feel like it's interesting too with Garcia. And again, I love the fact that I was talking with this to Andy this morning before he took off about how none of the three of us on this show gave up on Maton like everybody else did. And I don't think any of us really looked at his game to start in the ALCS as anything more than an aberration because he had been good all year. It does seem like Strami really did fix, and hopefully it sticks, the issues that was also causing the knee pain, which was throwing his mechanics off.
Yeah, and he threw harder in Game 6 of the American League Championship Series than he'd thrown all season. Some of that is it's the playoffs. If you're going to throw hard, you're going to throw it now, and no saving for the future. So it's common for pitchers to increase their velocity, but the increase we saw in Garcia is notable and was quite effective. And again, hopefully, part of that's a mechanical adjustment about how his foot is in relation to the rubber. Hopefully, that continues tonight.
What about offensively? Defensively to keep the offense going. I read an excellent article by one of the MLB national writers about how the Astros really shouldn't be too concerned about the outfield defense, that the percentage of really hard to catch fly balls in a playoff game is like 4% or something. And so it should be really a non-starter. Overall, what are your thoughts on just Tucker in center and Alvarez in left?
Yeah, I believe that article is by Mike Petriello of MLB.com, and he's an excellent, and I highly recommend his stuff. Anybody, and part of what I said is there's usually on average, one ball every couple games that is in between for an outfielder. So yeah, Jordan is not as good defensively. That's a compromised defensive alignment, but like he pointed out in Game 5 of the 2019 World Series, AJ Hinch put Jordan in left field, and he hit a home run, had another base hit, and then didn't have to deal with any difficult fly balls. So hopefully that's what we see tonight. And hopefully look, the Astros offense is excellent, and hopefully they can, we should expect for them to score some runs and therefore be able to put in Chas McCormick or Jose Siri late as a defensive replacement.
Take your analytical hat off then. What is your confidence level at? I mean, I know it's hard to separate the two, but I mean, are you sitting here feeling like it's the Astros World Series to lose, or do you feel, are you letting ghosts of Astros past kind of creep in? I'm asking you almost as much for my own mental health as anything, because I think the way I'm describing my feelings right now is utter despair. So where are you?
Yeah, this series is kind of a toss-up. I do think the injury of Morton really sort of, helps the Astros, as, sad as that is. But, part of why the Astros, this was more of a toss-up than it would have been otherwise, is that Lance McCullers is out. So both have lost their, perceived game one starters, and that sort of gives a small edge back to the Astros. This is a veteran team with lots of players who played tons of playoff games. This is a team that is proven again and again to be the best offense in the major leagues. This is a team with lots of really strong assets going into a pitcher's park against another team that's going to be compromised in what their pitching plan is. So, hey, the playoffs are a crapshoot. It's one of the lessons of Moneyball, the book, and that's still true. But hey, I want to roll the dice. I'm willing to roll the dice in the Astros' favor. Because I think it's slightly in their favor.
One of the kind of hidden stats that I thought was interesting when I was looking up Ian Anderson is, he's had a good ERA these playoffs, but it looks like he's averaging about 4 innings a start. And I feel like if he only goes 4 innings tonight, that's a really big push in the Astros' favor, because you're requiring at least 5 to be covered by the Braves. And I feel like, the Astros have to just attack like they did in game 2 and get after him early.
Yeah, that would be ideal to get them out early and to put more stress on their bullpen with bullpen games upcoming. And will create pressure on Brian Snitker to figure out if he should go a third time through the order with his third best starter, the one he's, getting pulled relatively early. He does have some reverse splits or pretty neutral splits, so it's not like they want to get him out. They may not want to get him out early against like Brantley, who has platoon splits. So again, that could be a chance, an opportunity for the Astros to take advantage of that. And this is true for both teams, how they manage their bullpen. Do they try to avoid going 3 straight days with their top arms, or do they sort of push top arms? I assume we'll see the top arms today. They all had off yesterday. Braves gave theirs 2 days off. But I expect to see that. How they manage that across the next 3 days is a very interesting and important factor.
Before we get out of here, then let's. I want to get a game prediction from you. Before that, 5 Astros nominated for Gold Gloves. Who do you see actually winning the award for the Astros, or do you think all 5 of them have a shot?
Getting people to vote for Astros right now is, if it was just the numbers. So if you want me to give you an honest prediction, it's that none of them will win. They'll all come second or third. That's probably residue of the sign stealing scandal. But worth noting, the Gold Gloves have never done a good job of identifying the actual best fielders. So, Derek Jeter has a whole bunch of them, and no number shows he's a good fielder. So don't put a lot of stock in who votes for the Gold Glove. All
right. Well, do you have a score prediction tonight? And does the series come back to Houston?
I will say 7-4 Astros tonight. And I think the Astros in 6. So yeah, comes back. The Astros clinch it in game 6 in Houston.
I love hearing it. We'll talk to you we'll figure it out, but we'll be back soon. Go Stros.
Sounds good. James. Go Stros.